Hey guys, answering Julian's question. Good to see you, man. Haven't seen you since Sunshine. It's always good to see your ridiculously beautiful face. Just another example of somebody we didn't know before being in the band, and now we're friends with. Julian's been a really supportive dude over the years, so thanks, man. He asked two questions. He asked about the song "Poor," and then he asked for our favorite song that we've ever written, and which is different because we've been asked our favorite song we play live and our favorite song lyrically. So this would be just favorite song. So we're gonna still answer that one for you. As far as poor goes, that's a really good question. It is about the nature of the church, which to us is just the term for the body, the Christian community that exists, and what it looks like and what it should look like. And a lot of you guys know that we lived in communally in inner city Charlotte I did for close to 4.5 years, and it just. We really wrestled a lot with what is Acts chapter 1 and 2 look like in the context of America. It's a really hard question to answer, and it's something we talk about all the time. I'd say we probably talk about that twice as much as we talk about music, because we're actually on staff at a church together. So yeah, just looking at the lyrics now, the first lines, God save us from our good intentions, what you meant to be organic, we refine into an engine. Our thoughts of just like seeing church so planned out and so event oriented, so structure oriented, and not necessarily throwing those things under the bus, but just wondering what should it look like. And we used to talk a lot about if we were pastors, could we spend enough time just studying the Word that we didn't need to like prepare for particular messages? We just were in the Word so much that whenever we had an opportunity, we were ready. Just wanting it to be organic outgrowth, like the church to be an organic outgrowth of the life of being obedient to Christ. If we're pastors, for our pastoral nature and the acts we do being shepherds, to be growing naturally out of just our time alone with the Lord. And then the line, we call it progress, but we forget that even water's poison if we breathe it. That's actually a Matt Goldman thought. So we were talking in studio, and I forget how it came up, but someone said something poison, and Matt said, well, even water's poison if you breathe it. And I was like, that's a lyric. And to me, it went perfectly with what the song was saying. And then just thinking a lot about being spread so thin in our culture, and that's kind of what the first verse talks about, is just our culture, because of the internet and phones and computers and cars. Like we're so spread out. You probably work one place, live one place, play one place, go to church in another, and that's just not conducive for real community. They're intersecting lives, and people compartmentalize the parts of their lives, so they don't really. Most people in America don't really live their lives with anyone but their family, because they're so spread so thin. And then the parts about naked prophets and all that stuff is really just about trying to be Spirit led. What does it look like for us to be Spirit led? Because sometimes the Spirit calls you to do something that seems unwise to the world. Been talking for a long time. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think in talking about this with each other and what kind of thoughts we had on it, the most clear bit of clear bit of clarity that we had on the situation was that as with the Christian life. Just in general, it's a progress, and we, like Aaron said, are talking about this on a daily basis.
Process, you mean? It's a process.
It's a process, yeah. It's a daily process for us. We talk about it constantly. My wife probably gets pretty tired of it because it's really the overwhelming majority of our conversation, and what that says to me is that it's never ending. You don't have it figured out and then just do it. Christ adapted to his surroundings. The church in Acts adapted to their surroundings, and so the conversation is typically, what does it look like to be Christ to the people around me, to my neighborhood, to my workplace, and even to my church.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing the song does refer to, and it talks about that Jesus cared for people, not systems, and that's probably coming out of our thoughts that we don't necessarily have a problem with government, but we don't put a lot of hope in it. We put our hope in the kingdom of Christ. So I don't really spend a whole lot of time thinking about what's going on in the political world because I don't see a lot of real redemptive change coming about there. Like, it's just going to continue to be a seesaw. But just wanting Christians to really focus in on what it means to be the church. The phone's ringing. I guess
I think we're all right.
we just ignore it and bulldoze through.
Yeah.
We can just wait. We'll just all wait together till the phone's done ringing.
Wait. That wasn't too long.
That wasn't too bad. The overall, it's just really just seeing that Jesus is the hope of the world, and seeing that the church is the only institution he ever built, and so just wanting to fight for it. So there's a lot of churches that I'd go to and wouldn't maybe feel necessarily comfortable with or like love, but if they're doing kingdom work, then at least they're going down swinging. In my perspective, like, one of the things that we learned the most in college was that we went to a really conservative Christian college, and a lot of people go there and then they get jaded, and so they hate it, and then they become these complainers, and that really didn't strike us well. Jeremiah and Jesse and I, we were like, well, if we don't think this is right, then we should live the difference, and so we really felt convicted about, okay, we're going to go ahead and just live the difference instead of just picking on, like, this is wrong, and there's so many people that want to be like, oh, that's wrong, and that's messed up, and that's not correct, and you need to fix that, and for us, it's like, no, let's just go ahead and live the difference and try to love those brothers in. So
I think, one thing, if it's not clear yet, I know one thing that we'd want to make clear is that we have this song and what's the one on You Became My.
I'm Undone?
I Am Undone. Paint This Town Black.
Oh yeah. You Know We All Love You.
You Know We All Love You. So we have some kind of heavy lyrics pertaining to this, and the last thing that we ever would want to, the last message we'd ever want to give with those is that we should abandon the church, that we should avoid the local gathering of believers. We are working at a church, going to a church, and heavily involved in that local group, and we strongly recommend it for everybody. Don't avoid it and don't run from it. But as Aaron said, be the change that you think needs to be made, and I think that's the most valuable thing we could do instead of continuing to just break off and break off and break off and keep starting our own things. Is join people who are God fearing and doing their best to follow God, and you be the aspect of that you're supposed to be.
Because it's never going to be perfect, and ultimately the church is the people, not a building, not an institution. And I use this quote a lot, but I love what G.K. Chesterton said about the church. They were talking about how broken the church was, and he said, yeah, well, the church is a whore, but she's still my mother. And I've always really, like, the church is messed up, but I love it, so we fight for it. And we have nothing, we try to have love and for people that are different than us, and try to really only divide over what Scripture seems to see as the important division points. So I think we've created a lot more divisions than the Bible would say there needs to be. And the other question you had was our favorite song, and that would be completely dependent on a lot of factors. One is the ones we play live a lot, we probably don't enjoy as much outside of the context. So when you asked the question, I was just thinking, if I turn my iPod in and for some reason I feel possessed with myself to listen to one of our own songs, which doesn't happen very often, then which one am I going to play? And I'm probably going to play one that we don't listen to, one that we don't play live very much, and one that I really like the recording of. So and actually a couple of my favorite songs didn't turn out recorded as favorites, so I don't listen to them much. But I'd say that probably my two favorites to listen to right now, and I think it's the same for us, is Rich and Author, because we don't ever play those songs live. I love our friend Mark from Cool Handler.
Are we on the same page? We play Author a lot live.
I mean, not Author.
Not Author.
Further up, further in, and Rich. Those are Further Up, Further In is just so groovy, and I love the ending of it. Just how big it is. And my friend Jesse from Harvard sang on that song too, did the background vocals, so I love hearing that. And then Rich, who's Mark from Cool Hand Luke, did the drumming. And I just love how he played that song. And that's one of the weirdest songs we've ever written. Musically, it's probably one of the coolest and most complicated, although you may never recognize it. So those, and then you threw one out the other day that really just stuck with me. I just still love the song "You Became I" from I Am Undone. So I like to start playing that one again. But I have a hard time listening to I Am Undone because of some of the production stuff. But
yeah, if we're going back, man, Emma Karras.
Yeah,
that was pretty special song.
Yeah, that was like that was a definite doorway to what happened after it, and
Yeah.
that's still one of my favorites. Definitely my favorite off that record is Emma Karis by a long shot. So if I'm at a piano, there's a 9 out of 10 chance I'm playing it. So.
Well, Aaron did steal mine. Rich and Further Out, Further In are my favorites right now. And I'll even say that Lazarus, I know I mentioned that's my favorite lyrical song, but probably just that song as a whole would make my list. So, yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Julian. Love you, dude. Hope we see you soon.
Thank you.
Grace and peace.
Grace and peace.